What's going on, guys? My name is Eric Bocciardi, again. I'm related to Mr. Boach up there. I'm sure some of you are failing his class, I'm sorry. And I graduated here in 2017. I'm here to speak about my journey through depression and suicide, how God has moved me and the solutions really to dealing with depression and suicide. As I tell my story, I will do my best to be very transparent and real with y'all. First off, I want to explain depression before we get started because most people confuse depression with sadness. Depression is a mental condition. It is something that brings you into this dark tunnel. It will manipulate you into thinking you are alone and that there is just no solution to it. And something that other people get wrong is that they think that depressed and suicidal people always have their head down, right? They just look depressed. They look sad all the time. For the most part, it's the direct opposite. They will hide it, cover it up, and keep it to themselves, and constantly pretend that everything's just okay. I remember as a high schooler, I was a class clown, making all jokes, like making your mom jokes all the time. But I was covering something deeper up, right? Before I dig in, I want you all to know that I personally didn't have this extremely challenging life where I experienced major setbacks. So if you're expecting something like that, I apologize in advance. I'm simply just someone who has always just been an emotional person. I've always lacked confidence in myself and struggled to understand why I was really here and why I was brought on this earth. However, around the 5th grade, my best friend's little sister actually died of a brain tumor at the age of 5. And this affected me in a way I thought it never would, right? It forced me to have suicidal thoughts as I found myself threatening God because for some reason I thought that if she died at such a young age, then I just didn't deserve to live. Which I know makes no sense, right? But at that age, that's how I thought. The following year, my closest friend's dad actually committed suicide, which just made things worse for me and furthered those suicidal thoughts. Fast forward, summer before 8th grade, our family actually moved to Texas from Florida, and going to a brand new school was very hard for me, like it is for most people who move, right? Fitting into the right group all 5 years was very difficult for me because I just didn't know who I was and who I really wanted to become. I was extremely insecure, I lacked confidence, and having acne just never helped the situation. Right? Yeah, some of you can relate. One big issue for me, this is going to sound maybe stupid or cheesy, but I was feeling bad about myself because people would be posting on Instagram, right, or in Snapchat stories, at parties and concerts, while I was at home doing nothing, because I just wasn't invited to many things. Not saying I never was invited to any of these, but it sucked and it hurt me a lot because these people seem to be living it up in the world, and they seemed like they just had no worries in life, and life was perfect for them, and so I started to resent them as well. So being on social media, obviously at that point for me, was just not a good idea, because I would become more depressed, that I wasn't doing anything, and I was miserable with my life, while others are out there just having an incredible time, right? And I felt lonely. I never in high school felt like I had a best friend. I had friends, but a lot of that was my fault. I kept to myself. I hid all that depression on the inside, and I never let anyone in. So that depression, instead of being resolved and being addressed, just continued to go deeper and deeper. Junior year rolls around, which was truly the worst year for me, because I still just didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I wanted to be. And my relationship with God was not great. It was terrible, in fact. I never felt so lost in my entire life. One night, I believe, there was a party going on junior year, and all my friends hadn't been invited. And for some reason I wasn't invited, and I felt left out, which I know sounds cheesy again. But my friend was actually having the party. So that night I actually decided that I no longer wanted to live anymore. I believed that if I died, it wouldn't truly affect anyone. And I was better off dead than alive. So that night I actually attempted suicide. I yelled and I screamed at God for a sign, but nothing. But weakness actually came over me, and I broke down and I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, hold on. My dad doesn't know this, but he was in the room next to me. This wasn't the only time I tried to do this. I had attempted suicide 2 to 3 more times throughout my junior and senior year. But again, broke down, and I was too weak to finish it. Over those 2 years, I had also prayed to God many times that I just wouldn't wake up the next day. I do believe, though, that God crippled me many times, and He continued to show up in my life when I wanted to end my life. And He was right there next to me, reminding me that there had to be something more to this life. So I chose to live another day and just another, and kept battling, and I never gave up. Later in my senior year, I actually decided that Satan wasn't going to win this battle, and that death wasn't going to take me just yet. So I actually got a semicolon tattooed on my left wrist. It's kind of hidden right now. But represented that I had chosen to continue my life and not end it. I knew God had to have bigger plans for me. And with the help of God, I started to understand that committing suicide was more of a selfish act, and that I would be affecting many, many lives by killing myself. I wasn't grateful all the time, but I constantly tried to remind myself that I'm blessed with so many things like friends, family, a bed, a roof over my head, and being able to live in one of the best cities, in the best state, in the best freaking country, right? And I also had teachers who cared for me so much, and Mr. Morez especially, who helped me develop a better relationship with Christ. And on the other side of the story, I want to share some valuable insight that I hope and pray helps you guys today who are struggling. First, understand how blessed all of you are today, and how blessed you are to go to such a great school like this, where teachers and administrators actually care about you, and they want to see all of you succeed in life. But also understand that it's perfectly okay not to feel grateful all the time for just what you have. It's especially hard in this area that we live in, right? Because everyone or most people have money and cool cars, and so we think nothing of it, and that it's just a normal thing. It's okay to feel lonely and to feel sad and to feel like you don't have things figured out. I still to this day don't have things figured out. I'm stressed all the time about my future and what it holds. You aren't expected or supposed to have everything figured out. And just because maybe the person next to you or your best friend is going to Yale and you don't know where you want to go, or if you want to go to college, that somehow they have life more figured out and that they'll be more successful than you are. I just want y'all to constantly try to remind yourself that no matter what, God is always in control. Work hard and stop worrying about the future, because you can't control it. I swear. God has placed you on this earth for a reason, guys. Just because you haven't found that reason doesn't mean you don't have one. And that is one thing I just want you all to just try and remind yourselves every single day. One big thing for me is find something that makes you happy. Something you're good at, and let that be your escape from life. Let it be a stress reliever for you. And continue to work on it, guys, every single day. For me, it's simply, and some of you know this, just going to the gym every day, right? And benching 405 pounds. I wasn't kidding. It helps me clear my head, guys. And honestly, honestly, the gym has saved my life as well. And I'm serious. And another big thing is address these issues you're having. I didn't, I know that. Address the fact that you may be depressed, that you may be suicidal. Let someone into your life that you trust. It can be a teacher, a family member, it doesn't matter. And be surrounded by those who love and care for you. Understand that you are loved by God and your family more than you will ever know. And let me give some advice for teachers who have kids, and let me just make this short and sweet. Constantly tell them that you love them no matter what. Kids, especially like me, will ignore it, but I promise little things like that make a huge difference. And tell them that you're proud of them no matter what they do. Remember, Pops over there came to me when I was unemployed, studying to become a certified trainer, something that I wasn't even sure I wanted to do with my life. And he walked up to me and he told me he was proud of me, right? No matter what. And for me, that had a huge impact on me. And I'll close with this. Understand, students, that life is going to be filled with stresses. It will suck. And life isn't fair at all. There's just no way around it. That's just how it is. So stop trying to avoid it. Instead, welcome it. Embrace life and everything that it throws at you. Understand that one of the biggest keys in life, and my dad's going to laugh up here because he preaches this all the time, is to know who you are. And to figure that out, it's important sometimes to figure out maybe who you are not and start using that process of elimination. Look, everyone has their own issues. Everyone will face obstacles throughout their life. Just because it looks like these people on Instagram have this perfect and awesome life doesn't mean that it really is. So focus on yourself. And once you start to know who you are and who you really want to become, all those things like not being invited to parties, people judging you, people posting vacay pics like once a week, which sometimes I'm like, what? Like, how are you going vacay? Or whatever. All start to become things that you will no longer worry about, right? And number 3, God has you here for a reason. And let me read y'all a verse. Genesis 1:26-27. Then God said, "Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Each and every single one of you are here for a reason. Each of us have been made in the image of God. We were all born to become something special and become great at something. The odds of us even being born is 1 in 400 trillion. 1 in 400 trillion. That right there, that stat, should just show you that you are here for a reason. And I swear I'll end it with this. Let me make one more point. Suicide, guys, is the 10th leading cause of death. And 123 people die of suicide every day. So maybe, even if you aren't depressed or suicidal, I implore you, be kind to those around you, because you never know who's depressed. And stop worrying about being the cool guy